me really was born out of my personal style, I guess. I've always been a person that people felt comfortable talking to. I felt like I was born to be a problem solver. As I was working with the National Council of Churches, more and more issues that seemed to have a racial undertone seemed to emerge. And as one of the few Black people on staff, there were days I was really troubled that I was being silent, that I didn't name what the issue was or what I felt the issue was. In my ministry work, I found that there were times that when the issue of race came up or women, I would find myself biting my tongue because I wanted to manage conflict. And the Holy Spirit just convicted me and said, no, 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 you're in this space to add your voice to the conversation and be intentional about helping people embrace the fact that we're all created in the image of God, the whole Imago Dei. That if we don't address issues, then we can't grow. When we know better, we can do better. And that started to be a record that played over and over and over in my spirit. I would be in situations where I knew I should be the one that speak up. And yet I was looking around hoping somebody else would speak to the, if you will, the elephant in the room. And so in 2008, I just had this burning desire to become an active agent. And the name that God gave me for this ministry piece was Grace and Race Ministries. Recognizing that all of us need God's grace to do whatever it is we're trying to do. And in the space of race, if we entered it intentionally, knowing that we needed to show grace to ourselves and others, then maybe we could help advance the conversation. We could become more aware. I was using my own acronym of ACT. We could become aware of why we had these issues around race. We could confront them. We could have conversations around them. We could be courageous in that space. And perhaps we could see some change that transformed the way we work together, at least as those of us who said we were Christian. I had people challenge me of whether this should be around Christians. I said, well, that's what I know. I am a Christian. So whether you label me Baptist or Methodist or all that denominational doesn't matter. As a Christian, I think we believe that God created us all in God's image. And so if that's our founding principle, then when we move through the New Testament and we get to 2 Corinthians and we say that we're all called to be ambassadors of reconciliation, how does Grace and Race then help educate and equip people to accept that challenge or that call to be one as Christians, as those who believe that they'll know we're Christians by our love? And how can we love one another if we're not even talking to each other? So that's kind of a long answer, but that's the spiritual motivation behind starting Grace and Race Ministries. Initially, we started out, because I had a board, we started out trying to just offer seminars and workshops so that people could come together in a learning environment. We called it learning and leaning in and learning together so that we could learn from one another. And the purpose for the gathering was to talk about race and racism and how we break down those walls, how we built the bridges that we need. And so initially it was us offering ourselves to facilitate and create opportunities to come together. Out of that grew people who would attend the workshops to say, well, can you come to our church? Can you help our church or our community group find things that we can do to advance the conversations, to be brave, not necessarily safe, but brave in talking to each other, to build the connections that we need. And so that was the kind of a sprout off of us creating our own thing to being available to others in those conversations. Not saying that we knew all the answers, but just saying that we were willing to be in conversation. So often, Greg, especially with white people, they would say to me, I don't know any black people to talk to. Now, before 2008, that would have got my dander up and made me say, you don't know any black people. Holy Spirit said, well, now, if somebody's brave enough to say to you they don't, then don't you offer yourself as a believer to say, well, I don't know all the answers, but I'm here to walk with you. And so that became a driving force for us as a ministry, saying that's okay. Because I might not know any white people that I'm comfortable talking to either to grow together with. And so I started using the language, not necessarily building the bridge, but be the bridge. How can I offer my body and without judgment to say, let's connect and do this together? So that was a big change moment for me, to know I didn't have to, and my own insecurities would emerge. I said, I don't know all the answers. Sometimes I don't know as much Black history as some of these white folks who have done it in academia. But I do know what my Christian call is to love one another as Christ has loved us. And so without trying to be too Pollyanna-ish about it, that just became the story. Be available. Be willing to be in the room. Be willing to struggle with it. Be willing to be honest. And know that if people invite themselves into that kind of space, that they want to work together. This is not about fighting with people. It's about stretching ourselves. And that's what keeps me going even now, wanting to be a reconciler. And I have people who say to me, and Black people especially, well, the reconciliation is not on our part. The reconciliation, we didn't break the system. I said, I'm not going there with you. I don't care who you believe broke it. Christ calls us to try to help mend it. And with the grace of God, we can do it.